Welcome to another episode of the StoneLine Climbing Podcast. This one's a little bit different. In this one, I chat to two friends of mine, Simon Rawlinson and Ash Wolsey-Heard. They are two climbers, both from South Wales, and had a coach-athlete relationship initially, and now, obviously, kind of 15, 20 years later, they've grown into friends. And in this conversation, we really look at their relationship, how climbing's kind of changed in a coaching and training capacity in the last 15 years. We kind of dip into a bunch of different things, but maybe through the lens of these guys' relationship and the coaching group that Si and Ash were a part of back in the kind of late 2000s into the 2010s. So as I say, this one's more through the lens of these guys' relationships, so may not be for everyone, but enjoy. So we're gonna have a conversation here with Ash and Si. Si has coached for many years, climbed for many years, done loads of different styles of climbing, coached a youth world champion. Ash now lives in Sheffield. Has climbed up to 8B, done a bunch of other climbing as well, trad and sport and comps when he was younger. And Si started coaching Ash when Ash was about, 13? 14, 15. So these guys have known each other about, what are we talking of, 15 years? Longer. And I started climbing a couple of years after I think Ash started working with Si, and then I kind of got involved and met Ash and Si through the climbing wall in South Wales. And I wanted to kind of get these guys to sit down together and really try and get to grips a little bit with what their relationship is now, what their relationship was, how the original group that they were involved in formed and developed and created some climbers that have really really excelled and are still heavily involved in climbing. So I'm going to have a conversation with these guys, ask some questions, and see if we can get some gems out of it. Yeah. So first question then, this is to both of you. Looking back, what do you each remember about the early days of your coaching relationship? What worked, maybe didn't work? What kind of surprised you about each other?
Well, do you want to go first, Ash?
I don't know, I'd say like for me it was just nice to be treated like an adult quite early on, I think. I think because I think what was I, like 14, 15?
Yeah, you're pretty
like
young, yeah.
You like obviously at that time you're in school quite a lot and you get sort of told what to do quite often, and then having something that you wanted to do and were sort of encouraged to do, like, but with the like a reasonable amount of freedom and with someone who was like genuinely quite psyched for it as well, was nice. I think maybe it was a bit more personalised as well because there weren't that many of us climbing, and so you got probably a lot more like contact time, I guess. Yeah. In terms of like, say we had a 2-hour session, but it was like a very personalised 2-hour session.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fair. I asked you to go first because I don't know what your experience is really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I have no idea. Like that whole group of you, I have feelings of what it was like for me, but I don't know what your experience was like. So we had a squad, one of the first squads that I was aware of. I'm sure they existed, but it was one of the first, I guess, at Dynamic Rock in Swansea. And it started off one of the owners wanting to help young climbers do well in Youth Climbing Series, which is sort of one of the national events for young climbers in the UK. And I was watching it one day and I think I may have done my like classic sort of smirk laugh, you know, what the hell am I watching? Because it just looked like it looked like a beginner session, you know, kids in a line, taking it in turns to top rope while the rest of the bell ringing. And weirdly, it reminded me of me being young. Like, it's not coaching, it's just have a go, just keep having a go, and hopefully at some point we land in a special place somehow. But then he confronted me with, well, if you think you can do better, take the floor.
Oh, so at that point you weren't working there?
No.
You weren't working there. You would just go in there climbing?
I was just going there climbing because back then there wasn't actually a climb wall in the area. We were, crikey, I was living in Carmarthen, which some context is 30 miles from Swansea. But we were travelling to Summit Centre, it's called now, which is Wick back in the day, the Welsh International Climbing Centre. We were going there like twice a week, and that's 2-hour journey, hour and a half journey each way. Because it was the only climbing wall. So when Swansea opened, it was like, wicked. We've got this, what at the time was quite a modern climbing centre close by. Yeah, I started going there and doing some training in the winter. And on the side, I was a mountain instructor, and I thought I might be able to get some clients for like, I don't know, intro to outdoor climbing, learn to lead, any sort of development. I was interested in my own climbing, but I'd never considered coaching.
So you were more interested in working with adults than you were with kids?
Yeah, it hadn't been seen as a viable option. I hadn't seen coaching. I wasn't even aware if coaching was taking place in the UK. It wasn't part of the pathway. I'd come through a mountain training pathway, so back then SPSA, it's now rock climbing instructor, where they teach you how to sort of stay safe at a single pitch crag with a group, and that would usually be beginners, whether they're kids or adults. Then I went on and did my mountain leader, how to navigate around the mountains and that sort of stuff, and then my mountain instructor. At no point in that whole scheme do you ever talk about how to do a rock over or how to do a drop knee or training or those sort of things. So I guess my eyes weren't open to the idea that there was this whole career where you could help coach, mentor, all the words you've said, sort of young people in their development. Then I stumbled into Swansea and was basically put in the spot like, if you're going to laugh, then let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I met the first batch of kids, really.
Yeah, so how long was it from starting that then to like him and Roz and those guys coming along?
Wasn't long at all, actually.
You had Howell first, didn't you? I remember.
Yeah,
Howell.
so the first batch of kids, I can't quite remember the numbers, but let's say there was 8 to 10 of them. Great young climbers. I still know quite a few of them, actually. It's brilliant. We started... And I didn't really have a lot more to offer than the instructors of the time were offering, because that's what I was. I didn't have any greater knowledge depth. But what I did have was, I guess, a real passion for climbing, a real enthusiasm for like getting better and caring about performance, because I cared about my own at the time. I had done competitions as a young climber, so I kind of knew what they were getting themselves into and could offer some insights into that. And then, I'd have to guess it was within a year that you had joined the team, Roz had joined the team, Clara had joined the team, and a few others, Robin, Cook. I'm sure we'll remember more as time goes on. Yeah. More time passes, Kai. Richard was an original member from memory, right. Richard Marotta.
So how then was there a balance then of you blending this like passion you had for your own personal climbing whilst having all of these kids kind of like on the coattails, so to speak?
Yeah, I think I've been asked before about this, just by people, and maybe we've talked about it once or twice before, I don't know, but in the early days I kind of felt I was a cheerleader. That's the best description I can give for what I was actually doing. I was psyched. I really wanted these guys to do well, and basically, I guess my coaching match was, "Go on, you can do it," or something like that. Just keep trying, try harder. And it's amazing how far you can get with that if everyone's on board and everyone buys into it. I think it helped in the early days that they see me climb and see me try my struggles and my efforts. And see, you get an idea of what it takes. And they see me fail as well.
Was there a lot in that for you, like seeing him climb? Or
yeah, I think so. Because I think one of the biggest things for me as well was actually being able to go outside with you as well.
Yeah.
And seeing, because I remember, what were you working on? Like, go to Foxhole, see you working on Saplon.
Yeah.
And like obviously Dennis, loads, and obviously, we had like a team to go like compete and stuff, so you got to see other people compete too. but then obviously your goals were much more outdoor based.
Yeah.
But seeing like how but what the process is, or like what it takes to actually have a goal, work at it, progress on it, and then like eventually achieve it. I think as a kid you're probably not thinking about that, but you are picking it up, I guess. And it does like imprint, I think. Like I'd say, you know, of the people that you taught around that area or around that sort of part of time, like most of them being like pretty successful with climbing, and like whether they like climb super consistently or not, they've all climbed like in the 8s.
That always blows me away.
Yeah.
Like that whole group, if we list you all, it's,
Yeah.
you know, when I look at the numbers you've all climbed, it's pretty mind.
I'd say like still like the amount of them that still climb is still like is really strong. I'd say so.
That's the thing that's more interesting to me about your group, more so than just you all still, you know, you've all climbed at a really high level, but the fact that you all still climb and you all still love it. And like for you, climbing's you're in climbing as a job. Roz is in climbing as a job. Okay, maybe some of the other guys aren't, but you know, I guess maybe if you think about later cohorts of kids you've had, how many even climb, let alone are actually still working or have their lives set within the climbing industry? Is probably not many, is it?
It's definitely different. So the Dynamic Rock squad, I forget how long we went for. What did we do? 5-6 years, probably, maybe a bit longer, something like that. That came to an end. I then set up a Boulders squad, so that's a Cardiff-based squad, which was also really successful. But if I compare the two, there's definitely a difference in the ratio of, like, you know, youngsters that were in the squad that have continued to climb into later life. That I would agree with you there. I don't think it's not. What am I trying to say? It's almost like all of the Swansea squad still climb to some level.
That's
like
what I
all
feel
of
like the
them.
ratio is. You have like all of that original lot still climb in some capacity, and some of them actually are within the industry for their jobs.
Agreed. Yeah.
Whereas maybe those later squads, maybe there's a few of them that still climb, but maybe not any that actually are in the industry. Do you know what I mean? I almost feel like you fostered something in that
there's a couple
group.
from the Cardiff squad. I mean, Zoe works at Climb Wall.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Zoe, I forgot about Zoe.
You know, Ash works in the Swansea squad. Yeah. But yeah, I would agree. The ratio is significantly different.
Yeah. Which I guess for me shows that it was maybe more. I guess that for me touches on the fact that it was more than just a competitive thing that you were doing. You know, like it wasn't just, okay, we do competitions, and then once you've done competitions, that's kind of it. It was side by side, competition rock. So they knew that, you know, I guess, did you implicitly know that, well, if I don't do well in this YCS, I don't really mind that much because we're going to go out to Foxhole next week, or we're going to Kalymnos, or whatever it was. Did that play in?
To be honest, it wasn't that much of a thought. I just enjoyed all of it, to be honest. If I didn't do too well at a competition, it didn't last that long. It didn't, you know, obviously it doesn't feel great to not do so well, but I mean, it didn't last. I still got to go climbing afterwards. So I'm not particularly good at like forward planning or looking that far ahead. So from my perspective, it's like, I've not done so well here. Maybe it gives me something to work on, but like I was never upset about it really. It would just be like, all right, well, we've gone to the next one, or like you said, to go outside.
I wonder if that is because, like, I wonder if that's maybe because you're not having to put all your eggs in that one basket. Do you think that plays into it?
I mean, yeah, I'm an old man now, so you're going back to some old memories, but I think we went outside a lot.
I think you went outside a
lot.
Because I turned up kind of at the tail end of what you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And I still remember more or less the whole summer of 2013. I could probably name or remember 15 to 20 sessions we went out from that summer, plus the week in Mallorca we had.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like towards the tail end of it. Roz was going off to uni, he was going off to uni.
Yeah, it started small.
Yeah.
You know, it's me as a cheerleader there on the floor, not really knowing what to do, just encouraging them to do their best. And then, you know, what I guess looking back, what did I have to fall back on? Well, it's like we lived so close to amazing sport crags. Let's go sport climbing. I mean, the first crag I think we went to was Dufferin, which is a little sandstone crag
I love Dufferin, yeah,
just
it's
above
great.
Dynamic Rock. It'd just been bolted at the time.
Right.
And someone had done the strimming, got all the grass back. I mean, it looked like an indoor wall outside in many ways. I mean, it's covered in 6B, so I think there's 7A there for memory. Yeah, we took them all there, you know, learn to lead sort of stuff. I mean, this is my mountain instructor training. It's like I know what to do. Wicked, and they have a good time. They loved it, and like everyone's like, when can we do it again? It's like, okay, we can go to Watch House, we can go to Foxhole, we can go to, you know, later Dinas, we can go, and it just expanded almost organically. But I think there's a few things here. Like, I was given the freedom by Dynamic Rock, so, you know, big shout out to Adam, Donna, and Owen, sort of the owners of the wall at the time, for basically giving me all the rope I needed to just go and have like amazing experiences with these kids, take them on adventures and show them what was really out there. I don't know how readily available that opportunity is these days, you know, where people are much more like, how do you put it? Like, you know, have you done the paperwork kind of scenario?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time we hadn't. We were literally just going out, and the lines were very blurred about what's work, what's not. You know, a lot of the time it was my free time. I'm going climbing. Do you want to come climbing?
How do you think having these guys around kind of in tow affected your performance? Do you think it had an effect one way or the other?
Yeah, massively. So, I've only climbed the things I've climbed because of the squad.
That's a big statement.
No, definitely. So
why do you think that is?
Well, before I met these guys, I was a trad climber, essentially. That was the main thing I did. You know? So Pembroke, you know, at best, I was probably on site in E5. At best, most days were probably more like, you know, E2 to E4 sort of range, and just mileage. You know, go to Pembroke. I remember a mate I used to climb with, Jet. He wasn't happy if we hadn't done 10 routes. You know, it's basically just go, next one, go, next one. Just, and you could do that in Pembroke. Everything's amazing. You just step left and do the next one, sort of thing. Once I moved to Swansea and sort of became more performance orientated, you know, I had a strong desire to get better. I was also put in a place where I'm trying to help these guys get better. And the two just were like symbiotic. It's like, well, if I can work out a way to help them get better, ergo, I'm going to do it, and it's going to help me as well. And I kind of feel like we all went on a journey, as opposed to like I was out front, follow me, which it might seem like. I felt like I was also on the journey. It was, you know, when we learned, I remember the first thing, I had a sort of realization about how to teach a drop knee, and suddenly I understood what it looked like and where to do it, and became able to predict it. Well, the power that gave me in my climbing was awesome. It's like, yeah, I don't have to like randomly decide what to do. It's like, it's there, it's ready. You know, so all the things that I learned to teach these guys, I suddenly could apply to my climbing. Yeah, I climbed way better, like significantly.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. I mean, you're talking like a 7A climber on site to 8A on site climber in a few years.
And you think that was from, I guess, indirectly focusing on technique much more?
Yeah, predominantly technique and understanding of it. Yeah. I mean, there are other things along the way. I certainly was suddenly exposed to harder climbing on a much more frequent basis. You know, because I don't know if you were still here, Ash, at the point, but I said our first trip outside was to Dufferin. You know, if you're on that trip, I think you may have been, but, you know, it's 6Bs. You know, we were going out doing things like that, you know, and then you only have to go a few months later and we're going to Foxhole, and we're all hanging on, you know, 7A to 7C sort of stuff.
That's an interesting point, though, actually. I think just that you feel like the level increased, or all of your levels increased, partially just by being on things that were harder.
Oh, for sure.
So instead of maybe going to the Dufferins and doing the 6B sport routes, you were suddenly, we're on 7As, we're on 7Bs, we're on 7Cs.
Completely.
And I guess at some point, it became, well, we've kind of run out. Those aren't there anymore. What are we going to do? Oh, well, I'm going to bolt them.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually that happens. I guess Pulf D was the first place. we went there, we climbed. Weirdly, it's like my first sport project really is a sensor. The first one I remember, I'm sure I projected things before it, but it's the first one I remember like writing down like how the sequence and drawing a map of it, and like I've got to do this is where I clip from, and when you're really nerding out and desperate to climb this thing, tick it after a period of time, and then looking at the crag and, well, there's so much more rock. Why has no one bolted anything else? Like, this is crazy. And then Googling like how to bolt, how do people do this? What expansion bolts do we use? How does resin work? All that sort of stuff.
Were there people you could ask? Like, did you try asking the Roys and Guys? Or?
No, I didn't really know Roy and Goy that well at the time. I knew them, but like not well enough to like
go and ask for help.
Yeah, like show my naivety to them, so as it were. But no, that was more me and Adam, the owner of Dynamic Rock, because he was quite keen, and we bolted a series of things there. And that, I guess, once I was aware of how to do it, suddenly it was like, oh, hello. All those places I've looked at for years and wonder why no one's done. Well, I could be that person. It just gets exciting, doesn't it? First ascents and stuff like that.
And I think you can see that that feeling of something opening your eyes in quite a lot of ways, can't you? You can, because I think I've noticed it in bouldering as well, where you just have a period where you start looking at stuff differently. Yeah. And then suddenly, it's like, whoa, why didn't we look at any of this before? Why didn't we look at any of that before? And
and we've just been at Ogmore talking about how, I've been going there 30 years, and like never looked at the mushroom. Is that what we call it these days? The mushroom block. Yeah. Yeah. These days it's like the place. Spot. We looked at it, but just never really considered it seriously. Yeah. You need to look at it with different lens, don't you? And like, hello, there's something here. I could do this. And
even the thing that we went on first. The fact that hadn't been done is an obvious wall.
That's crazy.
70 plus probably, you know. And if you keep looking further, there's more,
Yeah, I mean there's the next generation boulders there, isn't there?
And we're in I think if someone came through South Wales with like a highball kind of mentality, they'd probably have a field day on some of those things, because they're pretty sick features as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really cool features.
Yeah.
Right, but I guess...
No, go on, you carry on.
I was going to say, back to sort of the coaching thing. Yeah, we went outside a lot. And I think there's something to that probably explains the sort of the lifelong passion of that group for climbing. Because from my experience, us going outside, we became friends. We trusted each other. We supported each other, and we adventured together. We went so many places, from South Wales to, you sort of mentioned Greece, Spain, France, Mallorca deepwater soloing. I mean, you went to Switzerland with Paul, that's right. You probably went to Font with Paul at some point. Yeah, there you go. They were quite far-flung adventures, and that really makes bonds. So even the fact that, do you remember Reese and Jess? They're quite a bit younger than you. They would have been in the earlier squad.
Possibly.
I was in the peak last week, and they were both there, like still climbing together. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like,
I see Emily sometimes.
There you go.
Nice. Occasionally.
Yeah, she's still climbing a little bit.
Would you say the guys you coached a bit later, did you get to go out with those guys quite as much as you did with us?
No, so that's what changed. Yeah, so the Boulders squad was very much competition orientated, and we went pretty hard on the competition side of things, and we were really successful. If you look at the batch of youngsters that came out the Cardiff squad, I mean, if there's a period they made up, a decent size of the British team. I'm not going to pretend that all of them, but there's quite a lot of representation from a small pond. I think they did really well. But we didn't climb outside. If we did, it was once in a blue moon. I think I took Emily and Oscar out a couple of times. Zoe climbed outside, but that was her own doing with her mum and other people. And I took Gwen out a few times. But the majority of it was training specifically for competition. And like I say, we were successful at that. But then, I guess it's how you measure success. When I look back, I'm most proud of being part of that Swansea team.
Yeah, I get you.
Because, I don't know, we're still all mates. I still get really excited whenever I see any of you. And I don't know, there's just something special. And I love the fact that you're out there all crushing.
Yeah. Oh, Alice. Do you remember Alice?
Yeah,
Alice
I love that he's
was-
off ski mountaineering one week and then spending his whole summer at shipwreck, or I mean, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's been, well, I don't know, it's been great having like that sort of breadth of experience, like through competition and just do it for fun, indoor, outdoor. And I was going to say, actually, talking about, I think the only route I've bolted was with you.
I reckon it's still unrepeated.
Do you reckon?
No, Bullfight is mine. Yours was...
it's Rush Hour, I think.
Rush Hour,
Yeah.
I'm not sure who else has ever done it.
I remember just like spinning around in the chair.
It was like Wallace and Gromit. When he put the drill against the rocket, it's like he spun round, not the drill. He was so small.
The drill was like, I think you got like a battery out of a mobility scooter, and you like wired up to like a Bosch or a Makita or something.
Yeah, John Bullock had done it for me. He'd taken a standard SDS drill and like botched it to these batteries that you could have on a cable miles away. It's a pretty wild setup, to be fair. We often had the batteries in a rucksack.
I think that's what I did. I remember being like, because this thing that we bolted was quite steep.
It's really steep. Yeah.
I remember being like in the roof, sat on a chair with a backpack on, and just spin around.
Yeah, you had my setter's bench, didn't you, to try and hold you in against the wall. Yeah. But I mean, there's a good example. I mean, how many kids these days are a part of a squad where they get taken to a cliff, given a drill, and like, go wild, mate, bolt this route. Yeah.
I think because just stuff like that, being given responsibility and not, being sort of held back in terms of like you see people do things and you want to do it. Actually being told how to do it and encouraged to do it is really nice, not just being mollycoddled, I guess.
Yeah, and it's great for me as well. I mean, sometimes I feel like people like talk about, because it wasn't just me. There's a few of us involved. You've mentioned Paul already. The owners and stuff. I mean, I guess I really, really enjoyed everything I did. It was kind of like what I wanted to do. I probably would have done it if I wasn't being paid. Obviously if I could sustain myself, but like, it was just great days out. It's like today, we've been out bowling and had a good time. It was just like that, except occasionally I was being paid for it. Sometimes I wasn't, sometimes I was. It was a bit like that, because it's the weekend, I'm not being paid. Well, let's still go out anyway, because it's what we do.
I think that's it. I don't know if there's many coaches or people who do it for a job and then also still want to see these people like outside in their own time just because they enjoy it that much.
Yeah, I feel that's just like I feel like as a group, over all those trips, adventures and experiences, we just became like a gang. And we just wanted to hang out every day and go and do stuff every day, and that was climbing.
But that's quite rare, isn't it? For like you said, it's one thing to have that with a group of mates who are you're all around a similar age, but like you were able to do that with kids who were like 15,
it was rare
16.
in climbing at the time, and it might still be rare now, but it's not rare in everything. I mean, if you took surfing, you have the old guard who's set out the back, and you have the groms in the front, the youngsters, and they get tips off the old guys and get told their place in the order and how to sort of progress. And skateboarding is pretty similar, and you have like your hierarchies and stuff, and they're a gang and they hang out, and I feel we're a bit more like that and maybe it comes from the fact that I didn't know much about physical training. I didn't know much about a lot of things other than like, I know where the crag is, I know how to get there, I know how to keep you safe to a large extent. Let's go and we'll work it out. And we did as a group. It wasn't just me is what I'm trying to get at. It was all of us.
Was there a period where, because obviously you started as essentially, you're coaching, then maybe when you go outside the first time you're instructing, then, where does this like line of blur of mentoring or...
Yeah, I mean, it blurred hugely all the time, actually. So I suppose in the early years, I was more of an instructor than a coach when we went outside. It was more like, you do you, but I'm going to tell you when you're about to get close to a red line and I need to stop you, sort of thing. So for example, Fred and Nabile, I'm watching like a hawk. You're doing great. The moment like you're not doing it the way I want you to, I'm going to be
Piping up.
you need to stop now and think about what you're doing. It's about to go terribly wrong. More of the instructor in that sense. But then when you're on the floor and you're thinking about, I remember a time in Kalymnos of you that sticks in my mind massively. You probably know the one. You wanted to do Draconian Devil, and to me it felt like you were about to walk away from it when you were really close. And me and Paul were like banging our heads against the cliff, like, no. You couldn't be any closer. You just need to do some stretching, And then like, you couldn't bridge, could you? Or like, just do some hamstring stretches and it's done. Like, you can walk up to that part, and then like 20 minutes later or whatever the time was, you're clipping the chains. That's probably more mentorship. It's probably more like, I have a little bit more experience than you at this point. Let me just highlight to you that you're really close, and maybe this will just tip the scales in your favour. So they're probably two examples of like flipping from one to the other. But at the same time, we're doing that with Ash. Roz is probably like, in fact, she was on a 7A and had run out of quick draws, and we were trying to explain to her like, all right, if you climb down, you could probably get that one. You don't need it there, and there's a way you can leapfrog them to get to the top sort of scenario. So there's a lot going on at once. But by then we were really comfortable as a group, and you could be like that. If you gave me a load of kids now and I took them to Kalymnos, it would look very different to this.
I guess you build up a lot of trust with these guys.
Exactly, we've probably had years of climbing together outside by this point.
Yeah, because I think when I saw you guys in Kalymnos, probably that trip, that was 2012. So, you'd probably been going like 2 or 3 years, maybe more already by that point.
Yeah,
if you started when you were, 14, 13?
I started around 2008. Sorry, I think I started around 2008-ish, give or take. Around about that.
Real question for you then. What do you think you learnt the most from Sai? Not even necessarily specifically to climbing or technique or anything, but maybe in terms of how to kind of a general like outlook on climbing and how to keep it sustainable, or how to keep it fun, and something you've obviously done for the last 20 years.
The sustainability bit, to be fair, I think I've had to like work on myself a bit, just through like just lots of injuries, and then like getting more and less responsibilities like throughout life, and sort of balancing it with that. But I think probably what I've taken most is just like again, I think I mentioned earlier, the ability to have a goal and work towards it, and it being like a process, and it being like, it's slow. Like if it's worth having, like maybe it's like a bit initially unachievable, but then like if you just keep going at like how many sessions do you have on like Saplom and like
uncountable
stuff
6 months of 3 or 4 times a week.
So in terms of mindset, I think that like having a goal that is maybe a bit lofty, and then just continually working at it will eventually, like as long as you're sensible around it, you'll get there eventually if you put the time in. And for me, I think that's what's probably stayed with me the most is the sort of goal setting and working towards something that you want to achieve, I think.
Could I add on that?
As well, didn't you?
Because I think that's really interesting to hear. Because again, like I said at the start, I don't truly know what your experience was. So the reasons that I guess Adam was initially keen in the youngsters doing youth climbing series, and that I was interested in you doing some sort of events like these, was that for me, climbing it's a really great way that we test ourselves and we sort of get to challenge ourselves. Now, when you're young, you can't just go to Pembroke. Well, I mean, maybe you can, but like it's unlikely you're just going to go to Pembroke, get on an E5 and see what happens. The risk seems far too high versus, the likelihood of success. So competitions fit really well there because, they're relatively safe. They're, you can train for them. You have an idea of what you're going to need to do and the requirements, so you can train for it. And then we have the event, and then we can sort of review that and say, okay, this went well, that's great, keep doing that. We came up a bit short here. Maybe we need to adapt to fulfill that part of the challenge. And comps seemed a really great way of like benchmarking ourselves in that way, where the ways I was doing that in my personal climbing didn't really feel appropriate to take like a group of 10, 12-year-olds, into the mountains onto some big cliff, and here's this big like dangerous goal I want to do. Where comps, there's still stress, it's still high pressure. You're still going to have to like front up and like confront some demons, but let's see what breaks down so we can make it stronger, so we can come back and go again. And then that bled through into outdoor climbing as we started doing that as well. And I thought you guys were incredible at like taking on challenges and just rolling with it and going. It was it's quite inspiring for me to watch as well. The day you did Draconian sticks in my head because it was inspiring. It was like, Jesus, I still haven't done it. Well done. It's cool. It's a short little thing, but it's amazing. And watching you do, how old are you?
I mean, like 15, 16 were you? Or maybe 17.
Yeah, okay. So, you were pretty young, and like just smashed it in like no time, and that was pretty inspiring to see. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Didn't do so good on the longest stuff.
No, I vaguely remember that as well, but but that's what you find, isn't it? When you test yourself, you find, what is it that I'm coming up short against, and do I want to deal with that? Are my goals in that direction? If they are, I need to deal with it. If they're not, then hey, no worries. I just keep doing what I'm doing. But
yeah, I think that's the other thing I've really enjoyed about the outdoor stuff is like, say if you didn't do so good in a competition, say you made a technical error or something, but you're physically in really good shape, like knowing that you had a project outside that is just going to stay there for the entire time.
Yeah.
Like you can get better or stronger, or like say you're just having a bad day, like it doesn't mean you're bad at climbing, it just means that you made a bit of a mistake. So in competition, obviously that's much harder to deal with, but by having that outdoor aspect as well to sort of like counterbalance it, I guess, is that you get to put the training in and eventually have a result, like if you keep going to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one of the things I enjoy most about however you see projecting stuff outside, is that it's going to be there forever to a large part. And like you say, yeah, you can constantly make micro improvements and edge your way towards that goal. Some people get there quite quick. Most of my bigger goals have taken me quite a long time, but like I have got there in general, and there's a few I haven't yet. But yeah, that is a really enjoyable part about outside. I think I forget who told me this. I want to say it's Zippy, but it might not have been. But like in the early days when he was asking me a lot about, us climbing outside as a group, and I think he said something like, "What's nice about that is you can all win," and it's always stuck with me that, like we've all been outside today, and you did the thing you wanted to do. You did the thing you wanted to do, and I actually did something I wanted to do. Yeah. We all won. It's great. So we could sit here all smug, and that's really nice. If we were in competition today, that's not true. Like, you probably would have won. Me and you would be somewhere else, and we might not be feeling quite so smug about ourselves. So I do really like that about the outdoor aspect, that, you can all like cheer each other on, and because you can all win. It's great.
Yeah, someone doing well doesn't mean that you aren't doing well.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah.
You're not placing.
Yeah, in a comp, like you said, a foot slip, it can all be over in a heartbeat, and it sucks. You haven't given your best because of something that, it was under your control, but like still feels like you've been robbed, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't feel like you've sort of been able to show what you're capable of.
Yeah, you could have shown more, and that's really frustrating. Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess you've climbed, say, to a really high level and coached to a really high level.
Moderate by today's standards.
Maybe arguable. What would you say are actually the traits or the key things that you've noticed about the really high level kids that you've worked with? What's kind of set them apart from everyone else?
Passion and dedication.
Really?
Yeah, they've really cared about the sport, the pastime, whatever you want to call it. They've really wanted to improve at it, and they've put a lot of work in. Yeah. It's just obvious. And it makes them stand day and night from others. You know, if you think of Emily Phillips at Cardiff, I mean, she's one of the most dedicated people I've ever come across. Her and Gwen, actually, unbelievably dedicated. Like, the hours they put into just mundane training so that they could have the results they wanted was really, really impressive. You know, when I think of, you know, Ash and Roz, for example, as two from the Swansea squad, there are many others, but we just use those two as an example. You know, they loved climbing and they were willing to put the time in and the effort in time and time again. And that's what stood them apart. I think it's unfair to judge them against, you know, so say there's a youth club at the same climbing wall. You might not see the same thing. And I think it's a little bit unfair to judge because, you know, Ash and Roz in the squad had opportunities that youth club maybe didn't have to see the wider world of climbing and develop that passion and have someone support them and develop that passion. And I think if we could change anything in climbing, that would be it. It would be like to show
More
everyone
access.
what's available and like help them foster that. Because once you've got it, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is such a diverse sport, and it can take you to so many different parts of the world and like meet so many different people as well. I think that's part of being outside as well, is that you meet different people.
Yeah, completely.
So like people like, you know, Kev, Liam, and all those guys, or
That's something else we haven't talked about, actually. That's a good point, because earlier I said it wasn't just me, there were other people, but it was also the community. Because you're right, like Kev and Liam played a huge part, Dean played a huge part, Sharpie, the whole
How did those
community.
guys play? What sort of role did those guys play then?
You have to ask Ash, but from my point of view, they were like really invested and involved in like your guys. They were just encouraging you all the way. They were so excited for all of you doing things. They see you at the
Did you
crag
notice that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like everyone was like really psyched, like very. If you'd be trying something, like say Kev would tell you, "Oh, this is my boulder problems, Fat Cat. This is the beater that I used," or Liam does it this way, and then because Liam's not that much, a bit older than me.
It's only a bit older, yeah.
Yeah, so he was like a bit older than me. He was still like I'm pretty sure he was still a teenager when I first met him.
Yeah, I think
And
he would have been, yeah.
And you know, he's like one of the strongest people I've ever met. So, like, I remember him doing like 147 on 2 fingers or something, and just, you know, easy. And then, you know, just run laps up all like the harder stuff around dinner. So,
But
like,
imagine the inspiration that gives you.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
seeing what's possible, you know.
And, you know, and he was like, he mostly just climb outside, I think.
Liam,
Maybe, yeah. He got
by
to,
that
like,
time,
Wick a bit,
yeah, by that time.
So I think that as well, like being just like included in the outdoor scene and like even just getting those connections. So like Si takes out, but then like, you know, Kev takes out as well. So it was just nice to have that, again, a bit more of a community of people who, you know, like sort of take care of you a bit and like show you the way, or like if you wanted to do something, encourage you to do it and go and try it with you.
That's it. It's the power of like the small pond, isn't it? You know, I often talk about like fish grows to the size of its pond, but it's not always true, because we had a small pond, but that gave us power in a way. You know, we were naive to a lot of things that might hold you back, so they didn't hold us back. But then we were all so supportive of each other, it pushed us all upwards.
I think you all travelled as well, though, didn't you? That was the other thing. So, you know, I get this pond theory. If you're all kind of just stuck in the pond and nobody's really going anywhere else,
Yeah.
but you're all travelling. You know, you've been to Font, you went to Killimnos, you went to Spain. You'd been and seen all of these other things. So I guess you had an idea of what was possible out there,
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, all we need to do really is just kind of start to build up where we are here, and suddenly we can. Well, there's no reason we can't do this, and there's no reason we can't do that,
Yeah.
and stuff suddenly starts becoming, I don't know, I guess into the realms of possibility for you that wouldn't have before. I got one other question, which is, and I have a feeling I know what answer I'm going to get out of this, especially from you. Can you think of a time where you guys fundamentally disagreed on something training related and what the outcome was?
I'll let you go.
At the time, I actually don't think I knew that much about climbing training. Still, to be honest, like it's only maybe the last 5 years or so, I think, that I've really gotten like or like since coaching myself and going through university and like learning more about the science behind things, that I've actually probably had a better base. I think at the time when I was being coached, I was being coached. I don't think I had really a base of that much training to know what was wrong or right. So I can't personally remember a time, but maybe Si might think differently.
I think I remember a campus
When
board.
you slung a campus board up.
Yeah, a campus board sort of issue at some
And
point.
so you were like,
I was
don't let him build
terrified
a
of you
campus
going on the
board.
campus board a lot. Yeah.
I do have one in my house,
Yeah, I didn't know about that for quite a long time. Yeah, there was because that was around the period where in the UK it became sort of, well, for a long time it's just we all used campus boards. You know, we weren't really aware of the dangers of younger people using campus boards, and then suddenly we were, and it was like, oh, it's pretty bad actually. We should be cautious of this, like to a really serious level.
Was it too late by that point?
But you were already hooked.
He was already deep. He was in, like.
You're already pretty much a weapon on one, and I guess didn't want to lose that probably. And
I think. Well, I know I enjoyed it, but it was just something that I knew that I could get at home. Like in hindsight now, I now have a board at home or Swansea House, but I didn't build that until I was at university, and I just didn't know. I also didn't really know much about like boards or board climbing, so I think going to Sheffield, you know, these like training boards in people's cellars and stuff, I was then like, oh, I could have had one of these in the attic at home.
yeah,
So I think I did some work after I finished university, and then like built one at home. I was like, oh, this would have been really useful like a few years ago. But
yeah, that's interesting actually, because
at the time it was just
boards just weren't popular back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the campus board was just like I had a fingerboard. I was like, well, I could only climb twice a week. I think I can't remember when I learned to drive, but like there was a point where I could only go to Diamond Rock when I was taken there by my parents.
Yeah.
So having anything else at home that I could train on, that I wanted.
Yeah.
And that was something which I had. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
so I went for it.
How much you were actually interested in doing it, that you were like, well, I get to climb 2 days a week. I'd probably climb outside with Si on the weekend. It'd be nice to have a campus board so I can do like another session midweek as well.
Yeah. I mean, my memory is more the campus board at the wall, because I was unaware of the one at the house. It was just like, can you please stop going on that?
I mean, he's the only person I've ever seen do 158, like in a strict half crimp, completely static. Like,
yeah,
he never campus.
You did develop a really slow campus
it's
method.
like freakish.
It's
kind
really
of stuff.
impressive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Insane.
right. I think the board thing is interesting because boards were just not big back then. And I think a lot of our goals,
Roots.
I say our goals, a lot of the goals that were put in front of you, they might not have been your goals, so I'll let you talk for that. Yeah, we were a really route-based squad, whether that was competition, whether it was our outdoor climbing, you know, because bouldering wasn't a huge thing around here back then. Lee and McKev were having a little revolution at Guinness, but like there wasn't a guidebook, or there wasn't, you know, Ogmore wasn't developed like it is now in all these other venues. So we were just climbing routes. So a lot of our training was like quite interval training, but quite long distance. You know, 4x4s on routes, not on boulders. 4x4, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, or the bit that the board we did make, we put a circuit on it.
Oh,
You
really?
know?
Which one was that? Was
Remember,
that the
like we built
the back wall at the yard that
adjustable
changed the angle?
20
yeah,
to 40 wall.
Right.
I mean, most of the time, it had a circuit on it.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, holds that weren't really bad enough to do woody problems on.
Because you had the moon holes there, didn't you, for a while?
For a short while.
Were they
yeah.
used like for anything, or were you just?
We ended up just using them in regular route setting because most of our customer base were just like, ugh, can't pull on that.
Yeah, you're not going to use
Yeah,
them.
because
At
I think
40.
the average customer probably climbs like 6A, 6B, French, you know, so they're not putting on a 6A on the moon board for sure.
Yeah. So how do you feel then bouldering in the last sort of, well, I mean, what are we talking now? Really, we're going back probably 15, 16, 17 years since you guys sort of started. What do you feel like has changed between then and now, and how would you kind of view it differently?
Bouldering walls.
Right.
There weren't any. I mean, there basically wasn't a bouldering wall. You know, we had a bouldering wall in Swansea. I mean, just for people's reference, Swansea climbing wall is what, a 10-metre vert wall, lead wall, yeah?
Is it that? Maybe it's 9.
It might even be 9 with the smallest. Imagine a bus stop and you're not far off the size of the bouldering room. I'm exaggerating a bit, but a pretty small bouldering facility.
It's not particularly steep either, is it?
It's not steep. It just wasn't such a big deal. And then bouldering walls started being built. So TCA for us in Bristol.
Well, yeah, I remember. Well, when I went to university, when I first got in, like the Works was like the biggest bouldering centre in the UK, and there was like TCA. Maybe there was like Block, or maybe there wasn't.
No, Block's later, I think. The TCA and the Works are certainly the earliest two, I think.
Maybe there was a hangar in Liverpool. I remember going to a competition there.
But you've basically had this explosion since then.
Yeah, there weren't. But yeah, there weren't many. There were like a few lead walls here and there.
I mean, I work in a bouldering wall now,
and a few boulder walls, and yeah, I guess it's a lot more accessible bouldering, isn't it? Like there's less to learn. You can just we just get people to watch a video and then just throw them in there, let them have a go.
So how do you feel like your approach to? Because I mean, I guess you've both done both. You've done sport, you've done trad, you've done everything, but now you're bouldering much more.
Yeah.
And I guess I know you're doing some sport and some trad as well, but I guess you're still mostly focused on bouldering. So how was your kind of training or approach to it changed from what it was back then? How because you both you're at a different level than you were back then, and I guess you've had like changes of level and how do you feel like your approach has changed to it?
I think I've had to learn to sort of accept intensity as as like the gold standard for training, where before it was more duration. So back in the day I was just doing lap after lap after lap of whatever. That could be at the crag as well. I mean, I remember going to Lower Cave at Dinas and just lapping all the 7Bs until I can't lap them anymore, and that would be a training day. Because I needed to be fitter, because a lot of my goals were like abroad and they were really long climbs, and it seemed intuitive that was the way to sort of build up the fitness to do it. And I had a lot of success with that. But interestingly, looking back, the things I didn't succeed on were things that included intensity, where you had to actually do a hard move. Exactly like Draconian Devil, it does actually have a relatively hard move on it. If you compared that to like some of the 8As I'd on-sighted, they're probably no harder than V4 anyway. Well, that might be what, V6, V7? It's a long time ago, I can't really remember, but a little bit more intensity and suddenly I was shut down. So in recent years with bouldering, and I mainly boulder because it's just super convenient, That's basically it. It's fun, it's convenient. And actually, because I hadn't really done any of it, there's loads of stuff for me to do that I've never done, where that's not quite so true in rope climbing around here. I'm sure there is stuff, but the bouldering is just, it's on my doorstep, just go do it. But having to accept intensity, train less but harder, accept failure a lot more.
I can see actually that's something you've struggled with, because some of the sessions you have, I'm like, I would have stopped like 45 minutes ago. You're still going.
Yeah, I still want to have a million goes. Yeah. But that's the biggest change for me.
I'd say for me, like probably going from a performance mindset to a sustainability mindset. Like when I first moved up to Sheffield, it was just like psyched out my mind. I could like walk to the Works, I could get the bus to Burbage, and I just really like threw myself at it, which was great. I got so much done, but it also sort of came with like injuries and tweaks and stuff, and so after like that sort of continuing for like much longer than I would have liked it to, I've had to sort of like adopt more of like, rather than going flat out all the time, it's just like do bits and bobs to just like consistently be able to climb. And maybe I wouldn't say that like I climb as hard as I used to, but I can climb at my level like consistently, frequently, and that actually does a lot more for me than being like going through these like peaks and troughs of performance. So just being able to consistently climb at a level which is challenging for me is, I don't know, been a lot better, I think, for my just general like lifestyle.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm certainly more of a peaks and troughs guy. Yeah, I'm all in,
Yeah.
and then I've burnt out, and I do something else.
I think that's it. I think I didn't handle the burnout very well, and like when I didn't have climbing, I was a bit like, I need something else I'm interested in, but I'm struggling to find what that is, because I feel like climbing hit so many different like marks. And I did look for like other sports and other things to do, but it didn't quite feel as natural as climbing did.
Yeah.
So it's just been a case of like, for me, being a bit more sensible with it and less excessive, I think, and sort of just accepting that it's nice to climb, it's nice to be active and be outside and see your friends and stuff. And so I enjoy training, but it's not everything. It's just generally nice to be in the sport.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I would agree with all of that. I guess I still peaks and troughs, but I've learnt how to. That's a really weird thing to this is where I struggle with training, because like ultimately I know the long, slow, consistent pathway is the way to the best me, but I just really enjoy going hard, all in. And you know what, when I burn out, I just do something else for a bit, and then I come back again. That's why I did triathlon for a bit. It's why I did some ultra running for a bit. It's why I surf for a bit. It's just I need a bit of time away. Body needs to heal, mind needs to like accept where it is. Yeah, and then I can start again. And maybe that's where bouldering's helped, where going again at route climbing. I've hit that a lot of times. Where bouldering is like still relatively new to me in terms of like something I do regularly. It's only been since I started working at Rock Block really that I've bouldered regularly. So what's that been? 4 years? Rock Block Flashpoint, sorry, whichever you want to call it. It's like 4 years, maybe coming towards 5 now. So I'm still relatively early in my bouldering sort of career, and it's been a nice sort of upward curve. Yeah.
How have you found that kind of longevity then? Because I know you've had little breaks through injuries and stuff, but in general you've been, climbing consistently for the last whole whatever it is period, 15 years or something.
I think it's just sort of my relationship to it has changed a bit in terms of what it's meant or been to me, or what it's allowed me to do. So at points it's been really very interesting. I get to explore new places, or like around like my home, and more recently it's been a lot more social. Like it's my job, it allows me to earn a living, but it allows me to like socialize a lot and meet a lot of very different people, and then sort of off the back of that, like you get to, I think that, I don't know, the social thing for me has been like really big in the last like few years, because I work at a climbing centre, and that means we get like quite a large footfall through, and you get to meet just like all sorts of different people, and people are generally quite nice, so they'll invite you to go to like a crag or a pub, or like try something new, or like go to a party, go on holiday somewhere. So for me it's gone from being something very much which is like very physical to something which allows me to explore quite a lot more through different people, I guess.
So I guess you've just feathered it through the years of like periods of being a bit more psyched and focusing a bit more on trying hard stuff, and then periods of having climbing as this like social thing that keeps you sort of functioning.
I think the thing which was quite a large turning point was like when I was training quite a lot, I did find that it wasn't particularly social, and I found that when I was injured in these periods that I'd like tweet something or blown a pulley or whatever, I was like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do now, because I haven't been that social, so I haven't got that much to fall back on. So during these periods I'm like, actually I should probably be doing like a more varied amount of things, or at least with even just within climbing, like varying what I'm doing, who I'm chatting to, and like it's such an easy thing to do as well, like just go and help people in their projects, or like belay them, or like if they're new to the area, just go and show them somewhere nice. So it like once I realised that was an issue for me, it like sorted itself out quite quickly. But there were definitely like points where I was injured. I was like, I don't know what to do.
It's interesting you say that, because that's how I felt at times having injuries. But it's also when you're saying about when you focus more on the training side or the performance side of it is a bit more lonely. And I've definitely had that where, especially if I've had periods of training a lot, someone will say, do you want to come out climbing? And I'll be like, I've got this session to do, I've got that session to do, I'm going to do that. And then they've already gone and done something else. And I think that's quite a hard balancing act, actually, to be able to prioritise training and improving because you really care about and want to do something, but then not at the detriment of your social side of your life. And I guess when, like us, we're working within the climbing industry, it's unless you have this social group or social side that's totally separate from climbing, a lot of the social things that will end up happening involve climbing. And if you're training or you're injured, you're not necessarily wanting to be there, or you're not necessarily there. And I guess to some extent the sort of maybe the isolation or the lonely aspect of training is like the cost of business to some extent, I think. Like, I'd be lying if I said that I could have climbed some of the stuff that I've climbed without actually making some of those sacrifices and not going out here or not going out there or not going on that joy of climbing trip or day or whatever it was. Don't know. Maybe I'll regret it at some point, but at the moment I don't. I got one more question and then we'll wrap it up because we're about an hour. What do you feel like that period that you guys had for those sort of 5 or 6, 7 years, however long it was, what do you feel like what impact did that have on the way you approach climbing now overall, as just like one big takeaway that, okay, what I learned from those guys was X?
I think it's specifically for climbing.
Yeah, in climbing.
I'd say that being able to be specific. So say, I remember like during competition, I'd get really pumped. Like as Si mentioned, our wall was like 9-10 meters tall and about that steep. So for me, getting fitter was like always sort of on the cards for me to do better during like competition or just generally like en route, or then trying stuff outside, like you'd see side training specifically for the things that you want to get better at. So I guess like being able to identify a weakness and then work on it essentially, and also just being able to work like just again the social sides I think is really important. Just being able to work with a cohort, with a team, and be inclusive like across like a range of ages essentially. I think having like that top down like mentorship, like working with people who are both older and younger than you, like allows you to then sort of like learn from people and then like pass it down.
I want to touch quickly on something you said there about it being specific. How do you feel these days? Do you feel like climbing coaching or climbing training in some ways less specific? Because I guess you still coach and you still see people and you work with people. Do you feel like as culturally climbing is now less specific and is maybe trying not necessarily to make people or kids or anyone athletes more than climbers? I don't know. I'm just curious what you feel about that, or the kids that you see come through these days who are high level. Are they?
Seems more specific to me.
Right. Okay.
Specific.
Interesting.
So I think that's the difference. If you were to take Roz and Emily, so Roz from Dynamic Rock Squad and Emily from Boulder's squad, is that Emily was a highly specific competition climber, where Roz was a less specific, I really struggle with that word, rock climber. You know, and they both went on to sort of achieve great things, but in different fields. Where Ros is pretty good at anything in climbing she throws her hat at, and Emily, world youth champion in competition climbing, the thing she specifically trained for and specifically wanted to do. Hugely impressive, but it's unlikely that she was going to be the first British female to flash 8A plus, which Ros did, you know. And I could believe Ros will go on to do all sorts of milestones in British climbing for females. Yeah, maybe Emily will, but she's going to have to broaden her repertoire quite a lot. You know, she could go on and do amazing things in competitions, but that was her aim, that was her goals. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying there was a difference, and if anything, I think what I see, the kids having very specific goals these days. You know, I guess they get to see it a lot on social media and online. You know, I want to be Yanya, I want to be, you know, Toby now maybe, you know, look what he did, you know, Olympics, all this stuff. Maybe they're not seeing what you saw at Foxhole, what you saw at Dinas, what you saw, you know, the community, the roots, the history,
They're just so
are they
zoned
seeing
in.
that? I don't know, maybe. But that's not what, I don't see that happening so much to our youngsters.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Because in some ways I feel like it's the opposite, but
What would be the opposite?
I feel like the opposite maybe in terms of kids now being more generally conditioned physically, more, maybe they spend more time off the wall than they used to. Not necessarily more time off the wall than on the wall, but more time off the wall than maybe, I don't know, maybe than you guys did. I don't know, but then you guys trained a lot off the wall as well, so.
Yeah, so if I think of our current squad in Cardiff, and I think of, you know, Ash back in the day in the Swansea squad, my memory of it, as faded as it is that you'd be on the wall a lot of that 2 hours. If you weren't on the wall, you're probably belaying, and if you weren't belaying, you're probably on the wall, and it was just go for 2 hours straight. Yeah, that's not what I think our coaching sessions look like these days. Mainly, and I think, you know, the environment's different. We're bouldering now, where they were doing routes, and it was, you know, again, there's that story of when Mark came down and he asked me about sort of reps and sets. I'm like, what are you on about? Like, we just go for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't count. Like, 2 hours is up, we're finished. Like, we're going hard. You know, it was that sort of...
he likes sets and reps, doesn't he?
Yeah, he wanted to know the numbers, and I'm like, I'm not fussed. We've got 2 hours. We're going to do as much as we can. Yeah, there was a lot of naivety on our part about what we were doing, but it had great effect. I mean, built up huge capacity. You know, clearly they were passionate for it. They wanted to do it. It wasn't like I was, you know, had the whip and here we go.
That's the key thing, I think, isn't it? It's like they had the passion for it. They wanted it, and they've come away with, a lifetime worth of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would you say then is the key thing that maybe you would take away from
my
those?
time with these guys? Probably just, it made me aware of how much was possible. You know, they showed me how much was possible by pushing me into, like, making me do things that I didn't know I could do, or wasn't sure I could do, maybe is a better way of putting it. But just seeing what they went on to do was like, you know, I saw them when they were like, you could barely climb, and then suddenly it's like, you just, I remember when I first took Ros to Pembroke, and E5, E6 is no problem. Like, of course it's not. She's like a super weapon. Like, why would it be a problem? But, you know, just, you could straight away see that if she wanted to go down this avenue, she'd be one of the best in the world at it. You know, if she wanted to go down that avenue, crack on. And the same's true with you and the things you've done, you know, and all of them, you know, that's really inspired me.
Cool.
That's probably why I still coach.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you think you still want to have that. You want to have that.
Yeah, we could do that with so many more people, and like it just seems so valuable.
Yeah.
You know, I get a lot of value from it, and I generally think they get a lot of value from it. You know, even if it's as simple as the thing you said earlier about learning that there's this thing that I'm really terrified of and seems overwhelming, but I can do it if I, you know, put the time in, put the effort in. Once you learn that, you can apply it to anything. And it doesn't matter if it's climbing. Maybe, you know, we had a kid in the squad recently, didn't we? He's decided to go play rugby.
Yeah.
But I think some of the lessons he learnt with us about goal setting, you know, putting the work in, how you know, all that stuff, he will be able to apply to his rugby, and that's super valuable. That's brilliant, you know, and hopefully one day I see him in a Wales jersey.
It's life skills as well, isn't it? I think that we forget that just having goals, working towards them. Yeah, being independent, being capable. I think a lot of it. It's like going to these crags and bolting stuff. I mean, you've got to be. Have somewhat your head switched on.
Yeah, but it's even simpler than that. Like going on trips and like you guys have to go to the supermarket, buy food for the week. When do you get to do that when you're 14? Like in a foreign country, or
without your parents necessarily there.
Or like Athens airport, us suddenly wondering where you all were at check-in and like, all that stuff, Yeah, I think there's a lot of life lessons in coaching that you don't necessarily realise that you're helping with at the time, but later on you're like, actually, that was really worthwhile for these reasons. And I don't think you need to be a genius to do this. I don't think you need to know a lot about a lot. You just need to be a good person and
pretty psyched.
Yeah, psyched. That's probably the best thing, isn't it? Like want to be there, want to do it, and you'll probably do a great job.
Osmosis, isn't it? They just feed off it.
I see that with a lot of the coaches at the Wall now that we have. Like, they haven't got years of experience. Well, how could they? They're really young, but like they're so psyched. You'd watch them do their sessions. You're like, that's amazing. Like, it reminds me of me at 20. I'm like, that's brilliant.
And I think the transfer actually that I've seen from my own climbing from coaching, especially in person, is a pretty big difference. Like I've just noticed, I think that because I'm talking about it so much more, I don't even think you have to be doing it. I think just the fact that you're looking at it and you're seeing it and you're talking about it is enough to ingrain some of it.
Have you ever had this where you're at the crag and you're doing something and there's no one else around, you're just by yourself bouldering, and suddenly you're like,
I'm having a monologue.
Bloody hell, tell the kids not to do this. Why am I doing it? And you sit back and you stop doing the thing that you tell the kids not to do, and suddenly you have a great performance.
It's like you put another hat on suddenly, and then you put your own hat on, and cool.
Because I have that all the time, and it's usually that you should rest a bit longer.
That's the key one,
Yeah. But I tell the kids to rest. Why am I not resting?
Why am I?
Oh, rest. Oh, it works.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Cheers, boys. That was great.
Cheers, Al.
Hope you enjoyed this episode with Ash and Sai. Definitely a little bit different. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear people's comments, if anything kind of stuck out to you. And yeah, for more information on those guys, Ash, check out his Instagram, Ash Climbing Products. And for more information on StoneLine, check out stonelineclimbing.com.